Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening live to the Angel Rock on 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana, on United Public Radio Network, or otherwise known as either UPRN, or to some people, we're also known as UFO Paranormal Radio Network. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'm the host of this show, The Angel Rock. If you've never been to the show before, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you for returning week after week. We have a faithful following, and I really appreciate you and love to involve you in the conversation. Now, we were supposed to have two guests this evening. I'm going to explain that in a minute. But I do want to tell you a little bit about my show. I cover all aspects, I say, of the esoteric, the paranormal, and with some truth seeking thrown in there, always ending on a positive note. We have great guests on here, and I feature people from all walks of life through what they're doing, either extracurricularly or professionally. They're making a positive change for humanity. A little bit about myself. I am a Canadian clairvoyant medium, a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, and spiritual teacher and mentor, as well as a registered nurse. Now, like I said, tonight we were supposed to have two people, both whom are very good friends of mine, but unfortunately, Debbie is under the weather and she was trying to pull through to come tonight, and I'm glad that she's resting. So please send her healing and prayers and good thoughts. But we have her other half tonight. I'll read you his bio first. He's been on the show before. We just wanted to have both of them together. We haven't done that, but we will do that in the future, I promise. So I'm going to start the way he's written. It's very creative. He said, would you like to learn how to eliminate persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, and debilitating emotions such as anger, confusion, depression, that stuck feeling, etc.? No medication, no prescriptions, no surgeries, and no ongoing therapy involved. Just your past life memories. So my guest this evening is Chris Lee, a fellow Canadian clinical hypnotherapist specializing in his method of past life regression therapy, and he's going to explain how to learn his system. Chris realized through the years that he enjoyed helping people, first in sales and then 8 years as a policeman. Then the opportunity to be a hypnotherapist came along 29 years ago. He generally tours doing his talk called Life in the Past Lane, so far over 225 times in 6 countries. This is to explain what he does, how he does it, and the benefits of this method. And I'm a huge proponent of this method. Chris has written 4 books in a series called Life in the Past Lane, with 2 more coming. For 7 years, he's been training small groups of people who want to learn to do what he does. That's also on my bucket list. Lately, he does one-on-one training online using Skype. He developed his highly successful system over the past 28 years, and this is not done by past life readings. His system eliminates persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, and debilitating emotions such as anger, confusion, depression, that stuck feeling, etc. He does this with a 1.5 to 2 hour one-on-one session using Skype, unless you happen to stop in his office in Mexico. Welcome, Chris. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you, Lorilei. The guy sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, you wrote it. I got my computer on my laptop here. Hey, Dave. Dave, I saw your message. I didn't get a chance to answer it. So thanks so much for being here. Dave's one of our regular viewers, and he's been a guest on the show as well. He's an astrologer and a biologist, too. So he's pretty
Hi.
interesting. Mm-hmm.
Can you see me at all? I look kind of dark.
A little bit. We'll have to ask the audience. Dave, can you see Chris? He's a pretty handsome guy, so you should see your face. Can you turn on the light, maybe, Chris?
Oh, I tried. Will you give me a moment? I'll go
Yeah,
get
go
another
ahead.
light.
Yeah, go ahead. I can chit chat while you're doing that. Oops, got a little bit of wiggling around. Sorry about the audio, guys, if you're listening. I do want to remind you, too. Oh, he really had to undo his headphones. There we go. Come on over to UPRN, or UFO Paranormal Radio Network's Facebook page and YouTube channels. Tonight we are streaming on UFO Paranormal Radio on YouTube, and we're also on our secondary channel, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. I'm also streaming on my Facebook and oops, sorry guys for the audio. G'day, Michelle over in Australia. You're up. Nice to see you. Hugs. Thanks, Dave, for the feedback. He tried. Still a bit dark. Wait. I think he's got a light. Yeah, he's got a light. Anyways, come on over to those pages, because if you want to join in the conversation like Dave and Michelle are, and we'd love to have you be part of it, head over there, because otherwise I can't see the comments on the other pages. So are you plugged back in, Chris?
Yeah, is that any better?
Sort of. Dave said you're kind of dark. Well, you guys will just have to go to his page, I guess, to see what he looks like. He'll be our mystery guest this evening. That's all we can do. Sort of, kind of. There you go. You can kind of see you.
Oh, it's a spotlight.
That's all you
Okay.
got. Is it dark in Mexico already?
No, the sun goes down in about an hour and 20 minutes, about 5:20.
Yeah, because you're in Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay, here where I am, in almost smack dab the middle of Canada, and Chris and Debbie have actually been through Thunder Bay. I know they have, but not when we knew each other. Too bad, because if they ever come back again, we're not letting you guys get away without getting together with you.
okay.
So we've got Texas here in the chat with Dave, and we've got Michelle over in Australia. So welcome. So we kind of changed things on a dime up here, guys. So let's talk about this, Chris, because you do things a little differently with past life regression. So what is this for people? Because I talk in my readings and I do quite a bit of healing work. And that is one of the things I definitely suggest to people. You at the top of the list, I do. I recommend you always to people. But why is it effective and what is it?
Okay. Actually, so somebody's on from Australia. Okay.
Michelle, my birthday twin almost.
I did a couple tours there, and because we spent a few summers there, winters to us a few years ago, and it's quite the country. Okay. But what it's all about is, yes, we're in Mexico now. We have found it a little nicer and quieter. And like I said, it was cool today. It's only 24, I think, or 25.
Oh, geez, sure, rub it in. Well, Michelle's probably got it pretty warm over in Australia, and Texas doesn't get too cold. Mind you, one year they did with that ice storm.
Yeah. No, it's usually not too bad at all. Yeah, we're in Mazatlan. It's on the west coast, about 3 hours north of Puerto Vallarta.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice tourist town, tourist
It's
city.
beautiful.
600,000 people, so it's nice here. So, but we just rent. What it is that we're in Ontario, but we packed up Leamington near Windsor, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
So now, far as tours go, yes, I was using my bio that mentioned I did tours. Now, I don't really do them much anymore because of that pandemic.
Nasty thing we can't talk about, but you got to tell people, because we got people listening from all walks of life, not just in the field that we work in, you and I and Debbie. What is past life regression, and why does it work? What is it?
Okay, thought you'd never ask. Okay, what it's about? First of all, I took clinical hypnotherapist training back in 1993, way back. And the thing is that I wasn't sure about past lives because of the religion I was subjected to when I was younger, but I got over it. So I was very open-minded. Now, in the training, because about half the world believes in past life and obviously half don't, a lot of the schools in North America that teach hypnotherapy don't do anything about past life because a higher percentage North America don't believe in it. So think of the logic. If you're running a school and you want to get as many students as possible, you're not going to mention something that majority of the people don't really believe in, or a lot of them don't. So there wasn't any past life regression taught, but we did have an example done. The teacher said about halfway through the course, does anybody want to see a past life regression demonstration? So all of our hands went up. Now we had about 25 in our class. It was fair size.
Right.
And then he said, who wants to volunteer? So 25 hands came down.
Yeah, of course.
But it wasn't from fear. It's because everybody wanted to watch it, because not knowing what it's about, we thought that you wouldn't remember anything, which is contrary to what happened.
True.
But one of the girls volunteered. We sort of went, you go. So Hugo went up. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so what happened was that he slowed her down, and she was sitting there in a chair, no lying down, which is another fallacy. I think people think that where do I lay down? And I'll say, when they come into my office, I'll say, why are you paying me to sleep? No. It's just a lot of people think that you disappear into la la land and that type of thing. So doesn't happen. So the girl was sitting in the chair, and he slowed her down, and then what came up. It was like I had my paper and pen ready because I like doing that, going, mm-hmm. And
No, you
she
don't.
described seeing herself as a boy about 9 or 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
in Central States playing on a train track in the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, kids used to do a lot of that because they didn't have those video games. So anyhow, what happened was a train the switch changed and caught the boy's foot, and unfortunately, the train came along and killed the boy.
Aw,
Yeah, everybody in the group goes Then
I
we
just
remember
did.
that you're going to come back anyways. So now I went, wow. So I wrote it down because again I wasn't sure, but I
Yeah.
wanted to hear about it. And the
But
next
you
day,
knew she wasn't making this up, right? Like watching this, because you guys kind of urged her to go up there. So there was no pre planning or anything, right?
no, oh, yeah, I see what you mean. No, he didn't. He actually did a little differently. Like he just said, go to an interesting past life. That's about all. I go another direction. I tell you to go to the past lives that's it's in your face, bothering you. But
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, though the second one, he did another one. Anybody want to see another one? Everybody's hands went up, and she said, "Oh, it's 1942. I'm in England, and what do you think was going on in 1942 in England?"
War.
You're right,
War.
World War II. I knew you were just going to say that. World War II. And she said there were bombs going off. Well,
That's
remember?
what I was going to say. Actually, probably the bombing.
Yeah.
I really was. I really was. It's almost like I can see it and hear it as I'm explaining it to you. Mm-hmm.
Does this screen get any bigger?
I might be able to. Why? Do you want to show something?
Well, no, I just said all I see is like a little tiny square. I thought
Let
it
me
was
see as you're talking. Let me see what I can do.
there was like full screen mixed into it. Anyhow, while you're doing that,
How about that?
well, twice the size. Okay.
How's that? Now they can just see you look like I'm interviewing a mystery guest, like we're keeping your identity hidden. There you go. Well, get part of your face. Go on. I want to hear what happened. Go ahead. So
Okay.
1942.
I wasn't really set up here with my light. Okay.
That's okay. Don't worry about
So anyhow, that was about all she reported. So I went, wow, I made notes and stuff like that. Now, what was really interesting is the next day when she came to class, everybody came to class, she stood up and said, hey guys, I've always wondered why I was afraid of thunder and trains.
it. Oh,
Huh.
okay.
I can feel it still, like the memories that can trigger emotions there. And I went, wow. And then she said the thing that really got me interested in past life. She said, it's gone. Those two fears are gone.
Wow.
That's when I went, holy crap.
And he didn't even try to remove it, right? She just
Yeah,
visited it.
that's how it works, seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what my system works on is, I call it the unknown noise.
Mm-hmm.
A good example I use on a lot of in my talks. For example, let's say you're living alone in a big, dark, spooky house and the wind's howling. Quite often somebody howls, so it's good sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
If not, Debbie does it. And what happens is
Debbie, you're supposed to be doing the sound effects.
she makes the howl.
Okay.
Then now all of a sudden there's a crash and you jump up and go, what the is that?
Yeah.
Notice I'm being polite there. And then she
I didn't say
heard
what the hell.
you heard it again, and you realize that it's just the wind blowing a branch against the window. Now, you go back, now unless you're going to go fix the window or cut the tree, you go back to sleep. I would. Later that night, there's another crash. This time you jump up and go, what the heck is that? It's a noise you've never heard before. And that's when people sort of run amok. Somebody coming to kill me, the boogeyman, or somebody coming to rob the place, that type of stuff. So unless you go and check it out, most of us will pull up our bulletproof covers and try and get some protection.
Or you could be that stupid person in the horror movie that everybody's yelling at the screen, don't go in there, don't go look.
That's a good analogy. I like that one.
Yeah.
But the next morning you're going to work and the wind's still howling and blowing, and you're going out the door and you hear that noise and it's off to your left. So you look to the left and you realize it's the neighbor's garbage can. He's got a new metal garbage can. He used to have the bags that the dogs liked. But anyhow, Then you're going to make a very, very profound statement, Lorilei. You're going to say, it's just a garbage can. Okay.
Damn that neighbor.
And you got to the next part, yeah, and some adjectives about the neighbor, yes. And the next night, same another windy night, wind blows the garbage can over. More than likely, you won't wake up. But if you do, you'll say it's that damn garbage can, because the garbage can isn't coming to kill you. It's just a noise. And if you are bothered by it, then you need more help. But anyhow,
Yeah.
it's, you know that it's what it is. So that's why I
Right.
call mine the noise. Her seeing that she was playing on train track and also during the bombing, it's all it took is to see it. There's no magic. You don't say now let it go or poof or none of that. It's seeing it and letting it go, because we get bothered by stuff we don't know what it is. And past lives will still bother you. There's different things, we'll get into that continually, because we don't know where it came from, because most of the time a lot of people don't believe in it, or you don't know how to get to it.
Why do we carry it forward from past lives is a question I know a lot of people ask.
Sorry?
Why do we carry things from past lives forward into present time, for example?
See,
A lot of people ask that.
you are psychic, because I was just going to that.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, the only thing that you do sort of see a lot of about past life is if you have reoccurring bad dreams. I add bad because nobody has reoccurring nice dreams.
Mhm.
But it just, those are past lives that you're stuck in the subconscious. Now, let me just back up a pinch now.
Okay.
Your mind is made up of two parts, obviously conscious and subconscious.
Mhm.
The conscious part is not very big. It's about not 5%. So you can, I'm sure, mathematically figure out the balance. 95% is the subconscious. Subconscious is just a storage. It holds everything.
Everything.
I can
Yeah.
take people back, and I have done with a few people, to watching themselves being born.
Didn't you tell me one time on a show, this has always stuck with me, I found it so fascinating. You've done a few lives where people remember when the earth was created, like being part of the wind and part of the atmosphere and stuff?
No,
Maybe it wasn't you. I've had one other person that told me this. I thought maybe it was you. But I remember they told me that. Like I was positive it was you. It was on my old network. I'm positive because it was they were, maybe it wasn't, but somebody told me this. They've had some
that's
cases.
something I'll check out, though.
Okay.
Like good new suggestions. Now,
There
what
you go.
happens is that, as you know, we're just flesh and blood. Yes, we are energy. Energy doesn't die; it continues. You've heard of lots of stories of people, kids, especially under age 8, remembering, other lives and other parents and stuff like that. Because what happens is your conscious, subconscious are together when you're born.
Mhm.
They separate around the age 7 or 8. That's when
Okay.
reasoning comes in. That's when parents start, teaching kids the stuff that they were taught, which doesn't mean it's correct. But anyhow, what happened
I
is
agree.
is that also up to about 7 or 8, kids often have imaginary friends, that type of thing. But it's
I work quite a bit with that with people
uh,
because I think it bears a lot of investigation on a parent's part to find out exactly what's behind all that.
yeah,
Mhm.
around 7 or 8 that they start to disbelieve it, where their parents tell them it's not there.
It's ridiculous. Yep. And all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. I always tell parents, don't say it's not there. Just ask them, describe them. Did they
Yeah.
bury treasure somewhere?
Hmm. I
And then,
just did a reading. I would never give away personal information, but somebody
yeah,
shared with me. Now, not quite past lives, so they did remember stuff back from their infancy, and actually, they did share some past lives. They think they remember, and I said, if you think they are, more than likely they are, especially when you describe them in detail, and who you were and what. But they also could see auras, which is our energy fields as children, and what happened to them. And I said, we can't blame your parent for this. Your parent at that time, well, you can't at that time, right? This person is within our age group. Parents, that wasn't something normal you would have a conversation about. So they kept saying to their parent, why does that person have all like those rainbows and colors? And their dad, it was a dad, and the dad, they said, looked at them like they were strange. And then so a child can interpret a strange look, right?
yeah,
So, hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
That's very interesting. But where was I saying? Yeah. So yeah, parents should ask the kids to describe the person and get more details. And again, if they happen to bury treasure somewhere, maybe they could go and dig it up somewhere.
There you go.
But I actually followed something about that. It was actually happened in England, and when we were in England. I tried looking up where this place was that this guy had hidden stuff in the walls, but it was now a shopping mall. So
Oh, darn.
I had a feeling it wasn't going to be there anymore.
I bet it wasn't.
Now, here's how this works. We are energy. We have a soul group. I'm sure you've heard of that word.
Yes, I have.
And I always, sometimes I sign my book. Not all soul groups are from Motown.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyhow, what it is that we have a group. Okay. How big it is, there's a range. I don't tell people what it is. It's not very big because when we go in a session to the soul group, I don't want to give them the power of suggestion of how big it might be. But whatever size your group is, that's what it's always been. Now, apparently, they're being made all the time. So when you hear about old souls and new souls, it isn't like they're all made at the same time and some aren't right. It's just apparently, if you read Michael Newton's books, Life Between Lives, he's written 2 books, Between Lives. They're quite fascinating, very interesting. Now, apparently, they're being made all the time. You get signed, here's your group, away you go and mature. And we apparently mature by coming into the human form to learn lessons.
I'm going to stop you there just for 1 second. You know what, hon? Every time you move, we get a lot of clicking and noise, and it's cutting out, and you're talking about such interesting stuff, so I might have to ask you just a...
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I have a hard time sitting still.
So do I.
I like to dance. Okay.
I was hoping it was going to settle, but I know there'll be people just listening to the sound. They'll go, I can't hear with the clicking, so I thought I got to say something. I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Is that better?
Much better.
Okay. Check to see if I'm alive. I haven't moved.
You're alive. Yeah, now that you're our mystery guest still.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. What's on your
picture's on there.
Advertising, yes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, what happened is that we learn why we come into the human form to learn lessons is because energy does not feel aches and pains. We're supposed to go through this and emotions, etc. So we pick where we're going to go. Now we get the group together. Just say you got 10 people. Whoops, I moved again. Is that better?
It's okay. It's okay.
There's 10. Say you got 10. You get together and go, okay, you're going to be the bad guy. You're the good guy because it's not a chick flick. Somebody has to be the bad guy. And you're going to do this role. I'm going to do that role. And we're supposed to learn, let's just say, patience. That's one of the lessons.
And you're not going to a Buddhist Zen monastery either to learn it, right?
Not even close. Now, when you come into the human form, you don't really know who your soul group is, but you get a feeling. Have you ever met people and say a bunch of people and all of a sudden one seems like you've known them forever?
I have an incredible story. I have an incredible story from across a room. It was something like out of a romance novel. And I am telling you, from the minute our eyes met, and I know this person, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have been in many lifetimes with them. I was supposed to marry them in this lifetime. Didn't quite happen, but we're still friends. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we often play similar roles, like husband and wife and that, but not always. But also, if you ever met somebody you instantly don't like, they'll probably be one of your soul group. Your worst enemy often is one of your soul group. Mm-hmm. But you don't know that for sure, because if you did know, you would say, oh, you're just playing a role. I'm not going to take you seriously. Well, that's how it works. Now, the way the lesson works is this way, is that when we die, and if we haven't finished the lesson, it doesn't go away. Nice try. Okay. So if somebody commits suicide and they weren't supposed to, it's going to happen again and again. So don't even think about it. In fact, your soul group won't be very happy to see you if you've done it when you weren't supposed to. There are times when you should have. But anyhow, so what happened is that the lesson isn't finished. In the old days, people died younger. People got, their head cut off for stealing a loaf of bread, all kinds of stuff. So we didn't really have long time to try and finish the lesson. Now, what happened then is that basically the injury or ache or what occurred when you just finished that life, your subconscious stores everything, as I told you. If you've had 1,000 past lives, which I've come across, every second's in there. We could go to every one of them if we got a year or two to go through them, but we don't. We just go to the ones that are in your face, sort of thing. So what happened is that, like, for example, there's a thing I sort of nickname turtleneck syndrome. You probably met people that can't wear something around their neck or have people touch their neck.
Yep.
That's because they got hung, beheaded, or strangled. And that means that life was finished and obviously wasn't finished with. So your subconscious is there to help you try and finish the lessons. It brings them up. But if you don't have a clue where it came from, that's why we can't take care of it. And when you come into the human form again for the next time, you've got a new lesson to learn. You don't come in just to finish that one again. You always get a new one, but you get other ones that you try to finish off. Well, good luck on that one. Sometimes they get in the way. So one thing I have found very quickly is that I cannot tell anybody or find for anybody what their current life lesson is. I tried that twice. The first time the woman said it was like a steel door slammed right in front of her face, and that she'd already seen 3 lives, so I knew it wasn't not working. And then I tried one more about a week later, and the woman said, "My guide is standing beside me." And I looked around, I don't see these things. And he said, "No." Then I got a brain fart. I said, "I bet he doesn't mind me getting rid of the junk that prevents you from doing your life lesson." And she said something that gave me a tear. She said, he did a thumbs up. So I realized what it is. Can't help you with your current life, but stuff that's in the way. And a good example of something in your way, let's say, for example, now, fears and phobias, my book number 2, I've dealt with 141 different fears and phobias. A lot of them are ones of. The top 4, a little quiz here, the top 4 fears in the world, what do you think they are?
Heights, drowning, fear,
Yep.
success, and I forget the 4th one because I remembered these well, Chris. I really I have had sessions with Chris. You guys know I just had a recent one. It wasn't a past life regression, but we got one hell of a lot of information, didn't we, Chris?
You did good. You got 3 out of 4. The 4th one is confinement.
Oh, right, close
Claustrophobia.
spaces. Yeah, claustrophobia. Yeah.
Now, let's say, for example, you have in this life fear of heights. And the ones that it really bothers are people that if you mention heights, they get butterflies and that kind of stuff. That's a little bit over the top. Whereas some just, like, I have respect for heights, but I don't, panic over them.
Me too.
Now, what happened is, let's say your life lesson in this life was to save a family that lives on a mountain. You're not going to do it because you got a fear of heights. So therefore, that fear you dragged in from a life you didn't finish is interfering with your current life lesson. And you're going to have to do it over and over and over again. One lady, she was supposed to learn patience. And one thing I in the session, as you recall, I talk to you continually because I don't see any of this stuff. I'm not psychic. I don't see any of this stuff. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you anyways, because you have to see it. Remember, you have to see the garbage can, not me tell you it's a garbage can. So what happened was I went off in a tangent. What was I talking about?
Oh, if you don't get to see the garbage can, I have to see it if you're doing the session. But I had a couple questions. So finish what you were going to say, Chris, because we do have some questions and comments.
Okay, no, go for the questions. I'm trying to. Okay. I went on a tangent.
I'm going to give a comment and then I'm going to read the question. So Michelle Pratt from Australia says, yes, my partner hates tight things around his neck. I keep telling him that he's been hung in a former life. So she would probably be correct, but he would have to probably go through a session to see exactly what that was, right? Because he could have been strangled. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different things that could have happened. I also know Michelle's very intuitive too.
Takes about 10 minutes.
Okay, so she says, I'm very curious about changing timelines and dimensions and past lives. Now, do these all intersect in your opinion, Chris, or are they all sort of separate entities?
Changing timelines?
And dimensions and past lives, she said. I'm curious about the 3 of them. And if you don't think they do or you're not sure, that's fine to say too.
I'm not sure about that. Again, And people ask me heavy questions in my talks. And my favorite answer is, I don't know, but I know how to fix you.
Yeah, but you know what?
So,
I will tell you right now, from the people I know here that are here, people appreciate honesty. So it's better to just say, I don't know.
mhm.
I haven't seen it, hasn't come up. So, you know what I wanted to ask you about tonight? Because I was thinking about I had to change directions because poor Debbie. And remember, if you're just joining us, Debbie was supposed to be here, Chris's wife, but she's very sick. So please send her healing energy and prayers and good thoughts. And Chris, you sound like you're getting a little hoarse. I hope you're not getting this too.
Oh, no, no.
No?
What it was is I forgot to bring some water here. What Debbie's got is she's got a cracked rib. She
I
fell.
know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And just that she's got a slight cold and she sneezes a lot and coughs a lot. And
Oh.
that hurts the ribs. So
Mhm.
she's just taking it easy.
I don't diagnose, but being a nurse, and Debbie's a close friend of mine, so I've sent her all kinds of information today. Nothing to overwhelm, but just hopefully so she'll be feeling better. But I wanted to ask you, because I don't know about you, but I am seeing a lot of this in the news, and I think it has to do with the time that we're in right now. But truth seems to be rising to the surface, as I believe it always does. There's been a lot of big unsolved cases with murder, and seems to be a lot of like serial killer type things coming out in the United States. And
Mhm.
I wonder, I know you've written, haven't you written a book about that, with some, covered some serial killers?
Yeah. Oh, you can see me better now. Okay.
Yes, we can see you.
Turn to the camera or the
Perfect.
laptop.
Okay, so with serial killers, what have you found? Because I think people will find this fascinating, right? Because nobody wants to think of themselves as the bad guy, but we all take a turn, don't we? Hmm.
I remember one lady said, I don't know if I want to do this. I might have been done something bad in a past life. I said, I guarantee you have.
Guarantee. Yeah.
That's part of it. You have to be the bad guy so you can feel or understand both directions. Yeah,
Hmm.
book number 4. I'm working on number 5. Is to do with Jack the Ripper, serial killers, dungeons, uh, a few odds and ends, like not happy ones, just crimes against humanity. I
Hmm.
didn't do that first because nobody would have read the next few books after that.
Yeah,
So,
well, some people are really interested. I'm surprised the amount of people that are interested in true crime. Actually, it's been a fascinating journey looking into that. I'll tell you.
oh,
Hmm.
well, I remember that other one, that woman that she had to learn. She had to. So I go in tangent sometimes, and I have to
That's
remember.
okay.
So much to it.
The conversation just goes
Oh,
wherever it goes.
is that she had to learn. Oh yeah, okay, okay. But when I talk to the client, that's what I was talking about. Is that I don't see the stuff, so I have to ask questions like, "Are you going upstairs?" or "What's it look like?" and that kind of stuff. And it's amazing how people relate all the time. They can see it, they can hear it, or feel it, whereas I don't see anything, so I just know what's going to happen. But what happens is that I can ask the subconscious question. I'll simply say, if I need to get it more direct, I want your subconscious to answer this question: how many past lives have you had trying to learn patience? And she went, "Oh my God, 112."
Wow.
I said, I think it's time to finish it because you ain't going to go. When you finish or you've evolved, you go up into other jobs. You get uh,
Patience is a hard
gu-
thing to
guide, guide,
learn.
guides and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but patience is a hard lesson, I would believe, to
Mm.
learn. Like, let me tell you, I don't believe it was my lesson in this lifetime, but I had to have an incredible amount of patience. I have a special needs child, worked in very high stress jobs. And I remember the more stressful it would get, it's not so much patience, but you can get frustrated, you can get overwhelmed, you can get all these things, right? And the more I worked in ICU, so the more it would get more stressful and things would really overwhelm and can try your patience. People would say to me, "How are you getting so calm?" And I'd say, "I have no idea, but I don't feel that way on the outside or on the inside, but on the outside it would come out that way." It was really strange.
A lot of it's your experience from other lives.
I think so.
Bring, like people that they say, oh, so and so's got natural talent. They've been Mozart was playing a piano by 2 or 3.
Yes.
it wasn't because he was intelligent. I guarantee you, he played a piano in many other past lives. You're relearning to ride the bicycle. I've helped people improve their talents. So all of my stuff isn't just aches and pains and that. I help people improve talents.
So
Uh,
how does that work, Chris?
well, I just simply say, let's say you want to know why you like guitar or how to get better with it. I'll just simply say, let your subconscious take you back to a past life that you played guitar that you could make use of. And
Oh, okay.
significant point. Sure enough, actually, I turned out I cannot do this stuff to myself. I have to get one of my graduates to work on
Yeah.
me. So that's why I know I like the Spanish music. I do play classical guitar here, and it's because I was one of the mariachis. Uh,
Oh,
or like
okay.
carried the
See,
great
no, I
big.
didn't know that about you. So that's something new I learned tonight.
Well, I don't play it like professionally, just more for fun.
No, but you're building on a talent that you've had in a previous life.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
it's in a band. Uh, a funny one. Uh, Okay, I learned just when I think I've seen everything, which I know I haven't, something else
No.
will pop up.
Hmm.
A lady said to me, I'm retired, I'm alone, I'd like to get a hobby, but I don't know what to do. So I said, let your subconscious take you back to a hobby that you could make use of in this life. Within moments, she's describing being in the Vatican Square, the big open area in Rome.
Okay.
And there was a woman in front of her doing pottery. She and it was
Oh,
in the 1600s. I think,
okay.
and she said, "I'm watching her spin, the thingy. I use
The
technical terms, thingy." And then she said, "But I used to do that in high school." She said,
the
"So
pottery
here,
wheel. Yeah.
so here's where I often will say to when the person sees this life, I'll say hi to this life. You can't actually talk to your past lives. I'll usually get you to know their first name. You can get their first names almost always. Last names sometimes they hold it back. So I said, so what happens if it's say a guitar? I'll say get their name. Ask them if they'll help you. Well, this one jumped even further. I said, ask her if she'll help you with the pottery, and she said, it's too late. She's already got me at the wheel. I'm turning it and I'm spinning this stuff. What have you? I know.
Wow.
And since then, she's taken up pottery again. So
Wow.
I can go, to talents as well, or fear of success, for example, is one of the top ones. I can teach. You can find out why you sabotage yourself, that type of thing.
I
But
think that's one of mine.
sorry,
I think that's one of mine. One of my things is a fear of success because
yeah,
I'm always doing a million things at once and I keep getting more and more great ideas and doing more and more stuff. But then as I get closer, and I do know part of the reason because my frontal lobe, my mind, which we all think runs our life, I start asking questions from the ego like, well, how could I do that? How could I travel with this? How could I do this? I have a special needs kid at home, blah, 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 blah. That I know what the answer is, breaking it down, but that would be a good
yes,
reason to have a past life regression, right?
yes, that's your conscious talking.
Hmm.
You got to remember the conscious isn't big; it's there as a processor. It has
Hmm.
never been to a past life, hasn't got a clue, but it likes to think it's got an
It
ego.
knows
It does it.
everything.
Yes. So that's why when I have people slow down, we drop most of the conscious and get it out of there. We do have some conscious, so you know what you're doing and how you can drop or eliminate your concerns, the bad ones. But what happened is just stop asking questions. It was never there. But the reason why with success being in I think it was the third one, the third busiest fear and phobia, is because you were killed in a past life for being in higher authority or you had money and they didn't have
I
CS.
needed that reminder because
Yes.
as you're saying this, little bits and
Remember.
pieces are, yeah, and it's all, I'm getting goosebumps. Holy crap. And it's not cold in here. It's all coming together
Yeah,
because, and see, you guys, I'm sharing personal stuff here about me. I don't always share, there's some personal stuff,
that's
but that
okay.
is exactly all the pieces are all falling into place as you're saying this.
Sure. Because they didn't have CSI back in the old days, so people got away with killing you. And your subconscious says, don't get too. There's a fella, one good example. This one guy, he had a small store, but he would play the stock market. And he was actually working his way up to, he was now worth about $1 million in shares and stocks and that. Then he started making the stupidest decisions and started losing it. So he wanted to know what the heck was going on. So sure enough, he had been a businessman and was robbed and killed because he was too successful. So roughly what happens is the subconscious says,
Ah,
don't get too successful. Somebody will kill
kill
you.
you.
It doesn't quite happen that way anymore, but your subconscious doesn't care what year this is. So that's where it comes from. So we
Ah, that.
sabotage it. We often sabotage ourselves to prevent getting
What
too
about
mixed up.
addictions, Chris, for people? Because we see a lot of that
Yeah.
addictions. So what happens? Why is it so common that you're seeing? Like, why is this happening?
Because it wasn't finished in the past life.
Hmm.
There's lots of addictions, not just cigarettes. There's drugs, there's alcohol,
Alcohol,
uh,
gambling.
abusiveness, that type of. It's just you haven't finished the lesson, and it's not going to go away because we cannot do this on our own. As I said, I can't do this to myself. I found out now why I don't like cottage cheese because, especially, it's mostly the look of it. Okay, it was something to do with Africa and the tribe, and we made a concoction that was sort of tribal and looked like that, and somebody, another tribe that didn't like us had slipped some poison in it.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
why I don't like cottage cheese at the look of it.
How
So
about eggs? So I guess somebody must have poisoned eggs. I can't even smell them. My mother loved eggs apparently. When she was pregnant with me, she said if she even smelt one, she'd be violently ill. And I said that was because it was me down there yanking on the umbilical cord saying, "Don't send that crap down here."
yeah, very fun.
It's true.
Eres gracioso. That's Spanish for you're funny.
It's true. Michelle says hers is coffee.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
lot like I was just
Anybody that can't stand certain things, I can guarantee you, roughly 100%, that it's something from a past life. You don't get born with like a dislike for, like you said, the eggs.
hmm
It's carried through. It's all, and again, the whole thing is not knowing how to get to it. It doesn't go away.
You
And I
know
get
what people
people,
oh go ahead, Chris, sorry.
I get people that say, "Well, I've got diabetes, but it runs in the family." And I said, "You picked that family." And they
Hmm.
said, "What do you mean?" It meant that you were supposed to learn how to handle it, or that whatever pain came from it. So when we come into the human form, we actually pick our parents
Hmm.
and most of the people around us. I get people say, "Oh, I wouldn't pick my parents." I said, "Well, if you were to learn to be abused and your parents that you just got born into were the happy couple again, you'd be waiting to another one
Hmm.
abusive." It's just that in people that have a family that runs in the family, it just means they've got a weak gene that causes cancer. So they jump into that one so they can get it easier so that
Hmm.
they can learn to handle it. So
That makes
cancers and stuff.
sense. That
Sorry?
makes that makes that okay, that makes sense having that genetic component, but you jump in. I got it. Okay. Michelle, there's another similar. Never mind, we're almost birthday twins. We both do resin. You hate eggs too. There you go. She said, I figured I was egged in a former life. You
Like I don't
never
like
know.
avocados, and there's lots of them here. I
Hmm.
can eat them. It's just mushy. I
Yeah.
like I like what do you call them? Mine,
Jicama?
no,
Oh, that's a good question.
pineapples and melons and stuff. There, yeah, but
Another good question. What about being a black sheep of the family? What have you found anything with that? With as again, is it just like a protagonist within the family to push certain buttons to help others achieve their goals, or what have you found?
that could happen. Keep in mind that when you got a family, they've all come from different lines of past lives, so that's why they're not all in sync. They've all got different experiences that get in the way, or but there are actually situations when we come into the human form. We doesn't happen very often, but we come in with no lesson to learn. Is to help others from our soul group. You see, in the soul group, when you go out to learn lessons, only some of you go out maybe and you learn more than some of the ones that didn't. So your job is to, with your group, is to help bring them all up together. So what happens is sometimes you have to come back into a past life with them to help them with certain things. A good
Okay.
example is like a child being born and dies within, weeks, months, or whatever. People say, well, what's the lesson for that child? Nothing.
Hmm.
It's for the grieving parents.
I actually saw recently a parent who had miscarried many, many times.
Mhm.
And then they finally had a successful pregnancy and they had a little boy that was 3. And she actually shared this in one of my groups that he kept saying exactly what you said. I picked you and daddy as my parents. But then he said, and this time I decided to stay. And she said, "What did you mean, sweetheart?" And he said, "I was scared to come. Many times I was going to come. And then I changed my mind." That I'm not doing it justice, but basically, and I believe she was being truthful, and I believe this is what the child was trying to say was that was the reason for these miscarriages, that
Mhm.
finally he built up the courage to continue on with a lifetime here.
Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
Seen that, yes.
Mhm.
It's fascinating. Basically, what it is that when people come in, I have them fill in the questionnaire with a shopping list
Yes.
of their stuff, like you do. And
Mine was really long. We didn't work on it all. We needed a few sessions. I didn't do the other. Well, I've done a few. I think I've done at least one with you, if not more. But like I said, the hypnosis session was very cool too because it kind of went back in time. Some of the stuff that came through, it was
mhm,
interesting. It was different. I've had both with you, so I can tell you they were
yeah,
different but interesting. Hmm.
actually, to back up, how this whole thing works is that oh yeah, hypnosis. When I do my talk, the main reason I've done my talk is to explain to people what hypnosis isn't. It's such a,
Thank you. I was just thinking that we got to get on that topic so people
uh,
don't go with the
I got
stereotypes.
that feeling. You had that look
Yeah.
on your face.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, the main thing I start off with, how many people here believe in past lives? Now, in my group, it's a majority because they're already coming because they know I'm
Yes.
talking about it. Then I say, how many people aren't sure? And sometimes you get a hand
Mhm.
or two up. And I always ask, how many people here don't believe in it? And I had a couple times, but the interesting one was in Winnipeg. It was a big group, and a woman slowly put her hand up. And everybody started looking at her. So I politely asked why she was there. She said,
She's
I
dragged
don't
there.
really believe in past lives, but my daughter does, and she
Hmm.
needed a ride here tonight.
Yeah, I knew it. Somebody is always dragged to something like this.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I lost you.
Oh, hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Okay, good. It must. I moved and I probably pulled my plug out. Sorry.
No, I agree. No, did you see the part, hear the part about she put her hand up?
Yeah, I
Didn't
said
believe
what I said when it disconnected. I said every now and then you hear somebody getting dragged to something like this, and then it's life changing
it.
for them
Yes.
usually. Hmm.
She came up and asked a lot of questions at because I do recommend some books. Michael Newton is another good one. Richard Sutton, he's what's his name that wrote uh, Many
Thanks,
Lives,
Michelle.
Many Lives, Many Masters.
Hmm.
Sometimes if I don't think of them, I got so much to storage.
Thank
Use
you,
up.
Manuel.
What he told
Oh,
you?
I no, somebody just said love and light, Manuel. So I was, and Michelle said she can see and hear both of us well. So I said thanks for that while you were talking. Sorry.
Okay, that's good.
Hmm.
So anyhow, then I say, how many people here have been hypnotized? Now let's say there's a group of 20, is a common,
Hmm.
and 4 or 5 will put their hand up, and I'll say, okay,
Wrong.
does anybody here ever had had a boring subject in school? Hands go up. Did anybody ever daydream? Hands stay up. Okay. That's hypnosis. Has anybody here ever read a book or watched a TV show so intently you don't hear people talking to you?
Or
And
drove home and don't know how you got there.
sorry?
Drove home and you don't know how you
Yeah,
got
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
That's repetition too.
Hmm.
What happened, I says, has anybody ever slept in the last 24 hours? And hands, of course, go up. I says,
Hmm.
that's all hypnosis. So how many people here have been hypnotized? Everybody's got to put their hand up. You see, a misunderstanding. People think hypnosis is that la la land, or the biggest thing that I have to overcome is hypnotist shows.
Yes.
Hypnotist shows, I got some friends that are hypnotists that do that, and they know what I do. And sometimes I'll, come and watch them. It's just the power of suggestion. You see, when you hear them making, tell it to bark like a dog or that kind of stupidity, but it's a lot of fun. is that the people on stage are 100% aware of what they're doing, and they just don't care. You
Mhm.
see, about 10% of the world are what's called somnambulistic. Took me a year to pronounce that.
I'll
What
see.
it means is they're already hypnotized. They don't care. You've met people, those they don't mind being stupid or acting silly, or they're not embarrassed. That's
I
the
didn't believe you. Now, this was on my old network when I first had you on. I never said it to you,
mhm.
but I always kept it in my mind because it was very astounding the first time you had said this to me. Because what I love about you, Chris, is you had offered for me to try try it myself with you, because I think it's important as a host to experience
Mhm.
what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And at first, when you said that, I never said anything, but it really stuck with me. And over the years, with all the research and stuff I've done, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. You
Hmm.
think, and when you actually are regressed, slowed down, you
Hmm.
actually are about the age of 7 or 8. How hard is, or less? How hard is it for someone that age to act silly on stage?
Not at
But
all.
here, but here's the biggest clincher. If you really watch the production and live, so you can watch
Hmm.
the sidelines during the show, he always tries to get lots up. And during the show, you'll notice that he will send people off every once in a while. You'll say thank you, thanks for coming, goodbye. It's because they're not moving now. They're not acting silly. And the reason for that is because kids can get bored.
Hmm.
So if they're no longer having fun and they're just sitting like a bump in the log, it doesn't look good for his show. So he sends them off. Because if they were under his control, which they're never,
Yeah.
then he wouldn't have to do that. There is no loss of control whatsoever because nobody forces you to daydream. Nobody forces you to ignore people when you're single focus concentration on a TV show. Nobody forces you to go to sleep, especially if they tell you relax. Well, no, no, nice
Do you
try.
know why I doubted it in the beginning? And I'm going to
Nope.
be really honest, not that I would lie, is because I had been to a few of these shows, and the people I was with, a couple of them had been up on stage and I knew them very well. And
Mhm.
I'd never seen them ever, ever act that way. But like I said, over the years, having experienced some of this myself, never mind reading, learning, speaking with many different types of people that do hypnotherapy, not always the same as yourself. Everybody said the same thing. And I started to really pay attention to it. And when you pay attention to it and you're cognizant of it, you realize you are 100% right.
You're a smooth talker there, Lorilei.
It's true.
I know. If you get somebody that say they don't remember what they did on stage, it's mainly because they're going to be embarrassed remembering what they do. So your subconscious, which has the ability of creating amnesia, which happens to people that have witnessed accident or somebody being murdered that can't remember anything, because to narrow it down, I remind people your subconscious will never show you anything that it feels you can't handle.
True. Hmm.
So that's why when people come to see me, and now unfortunately there is current life situations that I get is when they've been abused in current life.
Hmm.
Now, basically, what it is there's about 3 levels. Some know they did, but they can't remember who. Some do, and some are, maybe, but they want to take care of it. Now, nobody comes to see me when they're 10, 2 years after it happened. They come when they're 40 or 50, and luckily, the people that usually involved with them are, dead, so they
Hmm.
can't go and
I
cause too much.
have a situation like that.
Sorry.
I have a situation myself like that as about a 4 or 5 year old. And
Hmm.
it came up in the strangest of ways through somebody I know that is extremely, extremely intuitive. And they kept saying that, and this person was tough as nails. And they owned a store. They knew my voice just walking in. It hadn't been in 5 years. And they were about closing, they closed it. And then they started just sobbing after we were talking for a bit, and I said, "What's wrong?" And they kept saying, "There's something really, this horrible sadness around you." And they were giving me more and more information, and I kept thinking, "What are you talking about?" And then as I went into meditation and stuff, and even now, I mean, I'm 57, I'm getting flashes of it. But the reason how I confirmed it, I have a relative that's a couple of years older than me that was like my big brother. He knew it happened. He knew what happened. He didn't tell me everything, but he knew. He confirmed that, yeah. And it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. It wasn't a murder, but
Yeah.
as my 4 or 5 year old self, apparently I took it as that, something that bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It can also be misunderstanding.
No,
'Cause-
this happened to me, and
yeah,
I was blamed for it
yeah,
by another adult. We'll leave it at that. As a small child, that should not happen to small
no,
children.
no.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't like, but I take it a bit further when they have been. Then I take it further and said, let your subconscious show you why this happened in this life.
Yes, and let's go there, Chris, because I think what a lot of people are afraid of is going back there, that you're going to feel and experience everything
No,
like it happened. That's
no,
not what happens, is
no,
it?
no,
Even your death, if you witness a death in a past life.
nothing. It's like watching television, except you're not like. I do have a box of Kleenex in my on my desk and
Hmm.
tears, but a lot of times they're happy tears.
Hmm.
But whatever. But no, I'm going to go on sub tangents here. Backing up, why did this happen? And sure enough, it'll be a past life. Same person, often switched roles.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes it's the same, it's not switch roles, but just something you didn't finish. So once they see that, it's not like it's a little bit late to have not happen this life, but then you know that it's not going to happen in another life because you've now dealt with it. Sort of thing.
Hmm.
So, so that one isn't to do with current life directly at first, but then after we find who did it and what have you, then why did it happen? Because we like to know why. But no, just to finish on, like for example, people with a fear of heights. You mention heights to them, and they get butterflies. And when they go to see themselves in that life being pushed off a cliff, there is no butterflies, there is no fear. It doesn't happen. The only emotion that really usually happens is, that's all it was. I can let
Relief.
it go. That's the feeling of relief. No, there's no fear, or you see yourself being punched in the face. You don't always feel like, no, it doesn't. Why? I don't know, remember? But I know how to fix it. It doesn't happen. But there's nothing, because again, the subconscious wouldn't show you it if you couldn't handle it.
Hmm.
But it does disappear. Again, it's amazing what effect. When I work in a session, the first session does take a bit longer because I have to teach you how to slow yourself down, et cetera, et cetera. Second session, I can just do it this, and you can return back to where you were last time after I asked you permission. I always ask you permission if I may work
That's what
with you.
happened. Yeah, I remember that now from when we just did the hypnosis session that we did. Yeah, you didn't take, because we had done it before.
Yeah,
And plus, I also worked with hypnosis. When I was a teenager, I was going for surgery and I couldn't take a lot of pain medication. So I worked with a doctor with quite a bit of hypnosis. So it's pretty easy, same as even meditation. Not that it's
yeah,
quite the same, but once
exactly.
you do it, your body
Medi-
remembers and everything
Meditation
remembers.
is hypnosis.
Okay.
I've had people say in meditation in the group they saw themselves riding on a horse with armor and whatever. So they're seeing that, but that's not taking care of any problem. That's just like, oh, there's a nice cute one. So like, again, I go the other direction. You see the ones that are in your face. So, but there's a lot of things. Again, you got your talents. You've got a number of things. But the thing I find interesting is that when I slow a person down, it's a couple of simple methods, and there's no swinging a stupid watch. Where they get this crap is way beyond me. Your eyes have to be open to see a watch, and how do you relax when your eyes are open? You don't.
Mhm.
That's also why you can sit in a chair because you're totally aware. You will remember everything. That's something I forgot to mention. I get people say, "Well, oh, I had one lady actually had a couple of times. People say, "You don't mind if I record it?" And I say, "Yes, I do mind." And they got that look on their why? And I said to her, "Why do you want to record it?" She says, "I want to remember what I said." I said, "Aren't you staying? Are you going somewhere?" You're going to be here. Your memory's even better because it's all single focus. You remember everything. And also, it's a healing modality. If your ache or pain disappears, which it will, does it matter what year it was? So like, and you're not going to go and play this for your friends for amusement because a lot of people
Mhm.
don't want people to know. Just what if I was a bad guy? That type of thing.
But it's only for you. But I want to tell
Yeah,
you something that I've had people try and tell me. Um, it might have been, it wasn't with you, it was somebody else. I didn't have a past life regression. but I think I was planning on a hypnosis session. Whatever it was, I had two people say to me, and they knew what this was. One of them themselves that claims they're able to do this. I believe they probably are. I've never worked with them. You better be very careful during that. How well do you know this practitioner? There's many things they could slip into this session. Well, and they use the word that you hate, under, while you were under. I know you hate that word because,
Because it
right? What?
implies you're under somebody's control and you're
Mhm.
not.
I know, but
You're in.
that's why I brought this up. So how are you
Thank
going to
you.
slip something in there? I want to dispel this. That's why I'm bringing this up right now. So what's your thoughts on that? I know what you're going to say, but I want people to hear this.
The thoughts on what?
That they told me, be very careful.
Oh, okay.
Somebody could be slipping something into the session. This, how well do you know this practitioner? And
That doesn't happen.
no.
And there's none of this. When people say they make up memories and stuff, or that false memories, I've never seen it. But the point is, I remind people, if you think, when I work with groups, all that 225 times, every single one except one was mostly female. Men are more skeptical. I've worked with 5 male medical doctors, and you think they might be skeptical. Some I saw more than once, but they know the power of the mind, the placebo effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened is in the talk, I say to people about hypnosis, and I said, or the imagination of. If you think you made it up,
Mm-hmm.
but your pain disappeared, which it will, who cares?
Who cares?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Usually, though, by the time they finish, they go, I think there might be something there. I don't recall traveling around on a horse with armor on in a battle. So, yeah, I think it's also the clarity that they can describe the stuff. I find it amazing because some of us are more visual than others.
Mm-hmm.
About 80% of people are more visual. But when I work with you, I determine, first of all, are you visual or sensing? Because what I'll do is then I just change my wordology. Rather than saying to you, now what are you seeing? I'll say, now what are you sensing? Because if you're a blind person, you don't have to see somebody to know they're there. You can hear them, smell them, kick them,
Feel
bite
them.
them, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of people that are not visual, I find amusing when I'm finished, I'd say about half of them say, I saw lots of that. I didn't know I could do that. It's because they're not trying to be visual. So, but again, if you make it up, you think you did. Now, when somebody says to me, I think I made it up, they made it up. I remind them politely that I say to them, you're not smart enough, and neither am I. Quickly add that so it doesn't sound like I'm pushing their button. You're not, because think of the logic here, okay? If you think you made it up,
Excuse me.
who makes it up? The conscious part of your mind, because it's the processor. It says, oh, yes, what year? I'm going to say 1802. Here's the amusing thing. The conscious hasn't got a memory. Where does it get the 1802 from? The subconscious. And the subconscious doesn't play games. It's extremely literal. That's why you be careful how you talk to yourself. So when you said, I'm going to say 1802, the subconscious already gave it to you, and it's the correct one. So you can think you made it up, but we're not smart enough to do that. So
I'm really glad that you brought up about wording because that's part of what I do with teaching is teaching people how powerful they can be, but how powerful, especially their words, their thoughts, and their emotions are, because the subconscious, like you said, is very literal. And a lot of the things too, I tell them this, they don't, subconscious doesn't necessarily differentiate between negatives and positives. Like, they'll hear a word, for example, is what I've always said. So say somebody's always saying, well, I never win anything, I'm always unlucky, I always, you know what I mean, or it's always the old saying, careful what you say, you just might
yeah,
get it, or what you promised yourself. Those are things that really are important, and people do not realize when we go back to the energy principle of everything is energy, including our voice, our thoughts, and our words, right? Spelling, exactly, Michelle. Hmm. Yeah.
your subconscious job is to help you. So if you keep saying, I never win anything, or I can't one of the latest ones that drives me nuts is I can't remember names. I can't remember. I got too much to think.
Cat catch a break.
You're talking to yourself. It's very, I actually, I have a memory program that I help people with. The first thing to remember about memory is that your subconscious stores everything, every single session, every single thing you've done. You can access it. One of the things is that Greg Braden, I'm sure you've
Yeah,
heard.
I know who Greg is. Yeah.
I like his affirmations. One of them that's helped me a lot is you say already healed. Always say it like it's already happened. Your subconscious has to have heard it like, oh, it's already happened. I better hurry up and catch up and make sure.
That's where I was going with that. Sorry, was like it doesn't know the difference between time or
Yeah,
anything like that. So when it's already happened.
yeah.
If it's already happened or you're thinking about it
Just
happening,
you
it
just
doesn't
say it
know.
like it has. It
Yeah.
has to make it right.
Hmm.
Like I had one of my one of the doctors. He said he helped remember his dreams. From what I said, what he had learned from that is that when you go to sleep at night, say in the morning, I remember my dreams. Don't say I want to or I hope to or I think I will, because the subconscious will say when. If you say I remember my dreams, it has to do it because you already believe in it.
Hmm.
That helped within. Now we can reprogram our mind over a period of about 3 or 4 weeks.
Hmm.
So that's why. So don't expect saying that I remember my dreams to instantly happen. But within those 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to find a big improvement. Now, one of the things is memory. We're born with a perfect memory.
Hmm.
But we hear things like, oh, as you get older, you're going to forget. You can't remember everything. All these stupid things.
Hmm.
And what happened is that I say, have you ever had a time where you're talking to somebody, you haven't seen them for a while, and you can't remember their name?
Hmm.
Hands go up. And you notice that while you're listening to them, they're probably wondering why you're making faces because you're going, damn, I can't remember that name. What's
Name.
that
Can't
person's
remember.
name?
Hmm.
And when you leave the person, within
Remember right
minutes
away.
or 3 in the morning, you go, oh, I remember that name.
Hmm.
Now, I ask this question of the groups. I'll say, why do you think that happens? To date, nobody's got the answer correct.
No
They all
pressure.
say always relaxed and that. No, you stop telling the subconscious you can't remember the name.
That would be
It
common
does
sense.
what you tell it. You say, I can't remember that name. It says, oh, I was just about to get it, but now you've told me not to, even though I like, helping you. But later on, you stop doing it, and it goes, I'm going to go quickly find the name. He'll feel better. She'll feel better. And that's the name. That's what it is. It's not relaxed. It's you stop talking to yourself negatively. So I teach people to simply say, before you go to sleep at night, just say, I have a perfect memory. Do that.
That works. Or the other trick I have learned
Yeah.
is when you're in the moment and you can't remember something, and it happens lots of times. I'll get talking and I forget what I'm talking about, and I just say, just let me keep talking. It will return.
Yeah.
Sure enough, 2 seconds later, or I can't remember. No, I just literally say inside my head, subconscious, please give me the answer.
Yeah.
I literally will say that. I also have an eidetic memory. It's there, and the reason why I believe children from the age of about 0 to 7 are like sponges. And my father took
Yeah.
me and my brother to a memory course for a week designed for adults. My brother, it went in one ear and out the other. He could care less. I took it so
Couldn't.
seriously, and I kid you not, before my nursing exams, and it was university years. I had lots of fun to be had and jobs to be worked, and I didn't have time to read. So literally, I kid you not, 2 nights before an exam, I would open a 2,500-page textbook and just go, and you'd
Yes.
be in the exam, the words would come right out on the
Yeah.
page. And I'm not special. What I'm
If
saying
it's
was,
in
I was
focus
trained
and you
working
look at
through.
it, you've got it stored in a second.
Yes. Hmm. That's why people can speed read.
Yeah.
One of my friends, Augie Nost, I believe he reads over 150,000 words per second. People say that's impossible. No, it's not, because he does it, and many people do. It's because, right? Power of the mind.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yep. That's like I turned out that I've been an English teacher in a couple of past lives. 'Cause I have a hard.
I'm not surprised knowing you.
I help. I have to bite my tongue about how people use expressions that drive me nuts.
I'm
When
just about to burst out laughing because it's true, people.
when the waitress says, "Would you like some more coffee?" and people say, "No, I'm good,"
Mhm.
she doesn't care about your morals. She wants to know if you want more coffee. Stop saying, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm really good. I
I
really
am so glad you explained this because yes, he does. You do, Chris, as a friend of yours, and he doesn't do it on air, but he will remind you afterwards. And you've got such an awesome sense of humor, right? And you'll say something with
When
humor,
people
and
say
it's
I could care less, that means they care.
yeah, exactly,
If you could
exactly.
care less, that
Mhm,
means you care.
mhm,
It's I couldn't care less.
mhm. Yeah, but that explains so much. Soon as
You
she
just
said
froze
I've
again.
had many lives as a or past or few past lives as an English teacher, I went, oh, that explains so much.
You froze for a minute there.
Oh, I said, oh, sorry, am I back?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I when you said I've had a few past lives as an English teacher, I literally just said in my mind, oh, that explains so much.
Thank you. Another one is that where people came up with, wow, I bought a lottery ticket and I lucked out. And I'll say, didn't you win? And they said,
Yes.
I just said, lucked out means you're out of luck. Where do people get lucked out? You're in luck. So therefore you lucked in.
I understand actually breaking this down why you're saying what you're saying, because when we look back on old expressions
Hmm.
and doing energy healing work, or just intuitive work or what, right? A lot of the things that we say come from parts of our body too, right? So so I understand where I'm trying to go with this is when you say lucked out, you are right. You didn't luck out, you lucked in,
Yeah.
right? But why do we come up with these strange expressions? That's what I want to know. Where do
I
we
think
go with that?
you get somebody that's in the know or a bit famous that said it, and everybody has to say the same
Maybe
thing.
that's it because
And
mhm,
it's another thing that drives me nuts. I've seen this in movies. Somebody will come to the door at a place and knock, and the person inside will come in. It's open. No, it's not. It's unlocked.
yes,
If it was
true.
if it was open, why didn't you just walk in?
I
But
hear you.
people do that. It's not
Hmm.
open. It's unlocked.
Hmm.
Come in. But just that if you take people that are learning English as a second language,
Oh, it's so
they
hard.
they they learn the correct way, unless
Hmm.
people that speak English like to screw them up with
Hmm.
all the opposite things. It's amazing. Like age, for example. Like my dad died about 81 with a full head of hair.
Hmm.
If you notice, I might have a little bit of hair,
You have a full head of hair.
and I just turned 75.
You don't look 75, Chris.
I know I look 74, but anyhow.
No, you don't. People might have said you could have got away with probably 25 when you were mystery guest at the beginning of the show.
I got ID'd when I was 25.
I did. The last time I got ID, I kid you not, and the person was not trying to pick me up or anything. I was 44, I think, going into the beer store. I literally said to them, are you kidding me? I said, I probably have kids as old as you do. And then they wouldn't believe how old I was. I said, it's got my picture on the ID.
Well, that's a good compliment for sure.
It was. I thanked them. I thanked them. Hmm.
But there's so many things like I could talk for hours on the different
Well, let's talk
example.
about some of the miraculous things that have occurred after you've done your sessions. And I'd love, we're got about 40 minutes left. I'd love to talk about some of your books too, but let's talk about, because you've had some incredible things happen after sessions.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What happens? I do take notes during a session, and no, they're not for the client. People
Hmm.
say, "Can you send me the?" That's when I realized that why. And also, I just didn't have time. They're
Hmm.
more for me. And people say, well, "Why don't you record it and check when you do it?" No, because if I'm halfway through and it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, this sounds like a life they just talked about 20 minutes ago," I can't say, "Just a minute, I'm winding up my tape,
Hmm.
backing it up." No, so I turn pages. What I do then is I photocopy or camera, I photo them, and then I file them. So I have files. So what happened though is those books are basically uh, uh, interesting past lives, case histories.
Hmm.
So yes, I've got lots of them. One thing about the books is that I have the four. I published them myself, and got rid of lots of them, but now they're still stuck in Canada. I don't have them down here. What I did in Canada is that near the end, when I wasn't traveling much, I would still have people send me a request, and I'd mail them to the people. Now, Canada and the States did get them within a few days.
Mm-hmm.
In Mexico, we learned long ago if you put anything in the mail, it'll take up to 2 months to get to you. By that time, you'll forget you ordered the book. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but and if you sent it by like Purex or that type of method, you can do it. But it's going to cost me about $15.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think people don't want to start paying that much money for a book. So what I did finally do about 2 years ago, I now have them online
Oh, awesome.
as a download.
Audio.
So if anybody wants them, and they're a lot cheaper because first of all, I didn't have to print them and mail them. And so I have been selling them that way. Not tons, but that way. So that you can mention to your clients, just email me at clpastlife.rap.
Yeah, I always at the end of the show make sure people know, as well as I put a banner out, Chris, and both you and Debbie's contact info. I didn't change it because poor Debbie tried to stay hang in there as long as she could, and then she just said, and I said to her, no, I even before she typed it, I said it'll just be Chris and I go to bed. So,
Another time we'll do two of them. I
mhm,
do them
mhm.
both. But there's so many things
Yeah, but
like
you've had some like didn't you you talked about one time on one of my shows, uh a lady who had rheumatoid arthritis, and then after the session you said I think something to do something like Rice Krispies after.
okay, that's a good one. Good
Hmm.
example. First of all, okay, aches and pains and rheumatoid and arthritis and all these things, they're past life. Just to go aside one, Grand Prairie, Alberta, a lady came in for a session and she said, I got a pain in my shoulder, but that's not past life. It was a car accident.
Oh,
Well,
good. I'm glad you're talking about this.
yeah,
Okay.
you can think of it as the logic. It happened in this life. And I said, how long ago was that? And she said, about a year and a half ago. And I said, hey, is it still hurting you? And she said, yeah. Are you doing anything about it? She said, for the last 5 months, I've been going to physiotherapy. And I said,
Hmm.
hmm, how far up, how much movement do you have? And she went like this. If I get it in the camera,
Hmm.
she brought it, her left arm, she brought it up to about that, like parallel to the ground, but she was just shaking. And I said, that's 5 months of physiotherapy. Yes. Now, the human body actually can mend a broken bone in 5 weeks. We are very good at healing. It's just that when we trigger an ache or pain memory, that comes in and hangs on to it. Sometimes we just it wasn't going to pop up but you triggered it.
Hmm.
So I said, let's add this to your list because a lot of people forget to put stuff on their list because they think they're stuck with it. No, you're not.
Hmm.
Sure enough, in a nutshell, she was a soldier in armor on a horse in a battle, and somebody threw from the ground speared her as a hymn. And I don't lead and say, is it the left shoulder? I'll just say, where did they spear? Hurt the guy. She said, in my shoulder. Which one? And she said, the left one. Now, when I go to these things, when people say where the ache or pain is, it's always 100% of where they're feeling it. It's not like they get it in the shoulder, but they feel it in their knee. Get it, get it.
Hmm.
It doesn't happen. So I said, you saw where it came from now? She said, yes. I said, move your arm. And she, eyes closed, she went straight up,
Hmm.
straight up. And the look on her face, eyes are closed, but it's like, wow, you could see. I said, yes, that's because you let it go. Your subconscious controls your body. When you cut yourself, do you think your conscious heals it? No, it doesn't have the, like on board, let it go. But your subconscious heals, affects you. So what happened is that when it holds the ache or pain you triggered, it's very good at this. But once you saw it, it means you still have to finish the lesson from that life, but you don't have to put up with the ache or pain from it. That's what I do. Now, backing up to arthritis. Arthritis is not a disease. It's a condition from a past life. She came in, this lady, she was in her 50s. Oh, stuff here. She came in her 50s, and for about the last 6 years, her hands, they've been gnarled. With arthritis in your fingers and hands, your joints will swell up. It's only because you're inhibiting the flow of normality, and she could hardly move them. And it wasn't on her list. So I said, let's add that to your list. She said, well, if you think you can. I said, let your subconscious now take you back to why you have the condition with your hands. I don't give it titles. I don't say aches or pains. I don't say arthritis. I'll say the condition or concern. Because you're giving it a title, it reinforces that title. So she said, oh, I'm in a dungeon. And I knew within seconds what was probably going to happen, but I never say that. Because I have found when I did say it a couple of times, it was never the right one. So I don't say anything. Yeah. The people that, everybody's been in dungeons, unless you're just, only been in one life before. But anyhow, what happened was the people that work in them, the guards and that, they're not hired because they're pardon me, counselors. They're hired because they like hurting people. Often they torture people because the people that put them in there need some information. So they're good at torturing. Sometimes they just do it for something to do. So she was a female in a dungeon. A guard was smashing her hands with a hammer. And I went, okay, that sounds familiar. I've seen that one before, but I don't say any further. I said, okay, now, you see where it came from? She goes, yes. Is that this life? She goes, no. Move your hands now. She moved her hands, and it was like a Rice Krispie commercial. Snap, crackle, and pop, because the bones are going back into joint. I'll explain that in a moment. But anyhow, it went on for about 15, 20 seconds, and slowly it stopped, and she started having free motion. And I used an example or a method with my clients. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 is the pain you have, 0 is gone. What number are you down to now? And she said 2. That's about normal. It'll go to 0 over the next couple of days because sometimes the muscles have just been held so long, it still have to loosen them up. But the main pain was gone. That's all it was. Okay, and the bones cracking is because when the subconscious is showing you the pain or duplicating the pain from that past life, it tightens muscles up, but sometimes it's not strong enough, so it puts bones out of joint to make it hurt as bad. So that's why that cracking. I've had many people with lower back pain, which is a very common one. Sure enough, there's so many things for that one. But this one guy, I said, see, he told me what happened. Again, don't remember that one exactly. I think he fell off a horse in a past life, and he landed on a rock on his back, yes, lower back. And I said, now you see where it came from. Move your back around. And it was like, correct. He said, did you hear that? I said, oh, yeah.
How could I
Big
not?
correct. It was going back into joint, into flow, like it was out of joint to be as hurt as much. When the session was over, he stood up. He said, I haven't stood this straight in 12 years.
Wow.
I said, how's it feel? He said, oh, fantastic. I love that feeling when people show and the look on their faces when the pain they've had for years was not necessary. When you see where it came from, the garbage can. Why would that noise bother you if you know what it is? If you don't know, it bothers you. So that's basically how this works. People come in with their list. We talked about it, listing all the different things. Actually, it's funny too. Sometimes during one life, and life only take 5-10 minutes each, I can do a few of them. But sometimes more than one thing gets cleared up. This one lady in Nova Scotia, when it was, I forget which item it was, but we went through that about 3 or 4 scenes in that life. We ended up taking care of 7 items. 2 she forgot to mention. She had a fear of heights and also the turtleneck. She had been hung and pushed off a cliff because sometimes people forget about stuff that they think is just the way of life. So it can take care of a lot. Second sessions work faster because they don't have to show you, as I said, you can return back to where you were before at that level and a little deeper. So why it works, I don't know, but I know how to do this, and I've done this for 27 or 8 years, and I've worked with thousands of people. I've done a few groups. Sorry?
No, I was going to say, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I was just going to address a comment here.
Sure.
Take a second. Donna Marie Higney, I'm so glad that you popped by at the show, and I apologize. We're not doing ratings tonight. If Debbie had been here, maybe we might have, but she's ill this evening, Chris's wife. But Krista's past life regression, we're talking how this works and why it works and how incredible and amazing. But I hope you'll come back again, and you're welcome to stay still. It's fascinating what we're talking about. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
no,
off there. I didn't want somebody to pop in and think we weren't. Like I said, I really do try to involve my audience when they're here. We've got people listening from all over the world. So some of the stuff that I've asked you to kind of break down a little bit, because it's not just, say, from the kind of community that we normally would work with in the fields that we're in. With people from all over listening from everywhere, different kinds of walks of life. So,
oh yeah. I do, like, I don't go touring anymore, but I have done, I do Skype sessions, one-on-one, and they work. Yes. The only thing is I can't put the coin in their hand from this distance, but you know.
Well, but I'm going to tell you something. You did that with me for my first session, and it didn't work well for me, and you recognize that. I didn't have to say anything to you, but I noticed as of late, and I never said this to you, we didn't use the coin, and we were able to start almost immediately for me. So, but the reason I mention that is because it's very unique for, I believe, for every individual in certain ways, like to tweak things. And that's what I wanted to mention, that you were intuitive enough to tweak it very quickly with the first session. And I want people to really recognize how important this is. Like I said to you when I think we were off air before we came on, I meet a lot of people that I do healing work with. And, I find, again, the mind is a powerful thing, and how much people believe what they've been told by, say, one doctor, one nurse. I'm a nurse. But what I try to say to people is, just because you've been told it can't be done or it's not possible, first of all, that doesn't mean that that person's a be all to the end all. Second of all, why would you not try something like working with someone like yourself before you go for a massive surgery or something? What have you got to lose?
I've had people cancel their operations. Lady in New Zealand, couldn't bring her arm up more than this, and when she left, she was trying to touch the lights. The pain was gone. Why would you have an operation?
And once it's cut, it doesn't. That's why I try and tell people, once something is cut, and that's what surgery is, it cannot return to 100%. You've already altered what you were given. And like I said, for the, and it's not astronomically expensive, that once it's fixed. You don't have to keep going back for more and more sessions, right?
It doesn't come back. Yeah, I don't get repeat clients because once it's fixed, why would you come back? I do get repeat if their list was too long. A lady in Australia actually had 52 items typed on her page. A lot of them were overlaps, like fear of heights and fear of falling. Are obviously similar, so a lot of them covered that way. But it's like you said, it's on the second session it can cover a lot more stuff. It's once you're slowed down. When I say go to, I'm going to tell you something which you might remember. Everybody I work with for the first time, I picked their first past life for them. And it's called confidence. A lot of people probably could use more confidence. So what I do is I say, let's start with that one first. How to get more confidence? Because if they were, say, had a fear of snakes, I would not ever start that first, because they wouldn't know they don't know how this works. So they'd be going, oh God, is it going to be dangerous? And they start unrelaxing. Yes, they start slowly coming back up.
Yeah, but you may pick the topic to start with that can always help someone. I love that.
Yeah.
But when you say that, you don't tell them what they're going to discover. You give them something positive to work with, to relax and get into the session, right? Not into the work that they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Be comfortable.
Because it's better to have something nice to start with.
Yes.
Sometimes on the second session, if somebody's got a lot of still heavy stuff, I'll say, let's go to a talent one. So I always start with a bit of a nice one. Then they see how it works and that there's no fear, phobia, that kind of stuff, or ache or pains. So
Well, it's scary though when you don't know what to expect. And then, like I
yeah,
told you, I knew what to expect. And I've had people, what they said to me, that, be very careful with who you're working with. They could be slipping something under there. Well, then how much do you know? Like I said, one of them claimed to be doing hypnotherapy. If you know what hypnotherapy is, you know that the person is not asleep or won't remember. Or I remember everything. Some of the stuff that we did, and I'm being honest here, with the hypnosis session, it wasn't because I was asleep or so deeply hypnotized. There was just so much information that came through that, um like, you take notes and stuff like that. And Debbie was with you. I know Debbie, I think, I forget, Debbie was a part of it, but there was
yeah.
information in there. Or actually, maybe we audio recorded it. I forget how we did it, but we took notes, and there was a reason for it, because we were working on something sort of as a group. Not you just were the facilitator, Debbie and another person and I. But the thing is, it's not because I was so deeply hypnotized I can't remember. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I had one guy said, "Well, I'll come out. This is in Ontario. I'll come out to your office, but I think I should bring somebody with me just in case I can't get out of it."
Oh, I've heard that actually. I
I
have heard that from people. Yes.
So I didn't even do the session with that person. Get out of it. Does somebody make you stop sleeping? Does somebody stop you? Make you? Are you stuck in a daydream? Like how? Again,
It is stupid. It
that
is
swinging
stupid.
watch. Yeah. Oh, I know. See, hypnotherapists do have a challenge that we have to get over. People saying, "Oh, you're going to make me bark like a dog?" Oh God, why?
Yeah,
Oh,
I could see why, but you know what? Then you don't. If people aren't willing to be open, like, this is where I go with people with this when I suggest this. You're willing to go have a 12-hour operation and have bars of steel put in your back, for example, on both
yeah,
sides, when you could go for a session, depending on your problem list. And I'm calling it a problem list, not you,
yeah,
but
yeah.
what you're going to list, and then go see somebody that could help you. Why would you not try that? That just, to me, I cannot understand it.
I know. Well,
Hmm.
we get brainwashed with medicine commercials, the billion dollar companies that make drugs, and go see your doctor. Again, I did sessions with and two female doctors too.
Hmm.
But the reason I mentioned men because men can be more skeptical
Hmm.
than
I
women.
think men are more logical, whereas I think the reason why we see women that are, majority of women are more open, is because we're more open-minded, because I think we're able to be more emotional, which we are.
Yeah,
And I think that that's really a big thing about it. It's almost like it's more acceptable for a female to be doing something like this. Whereas, like I said, I think with men, you obviously, your brains are hardwired different than us, and it's logic, I think.
hmm,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
No, I think it's a great idea. Let's talk about your books, Chris. We got, let's see, it's 7:40 my time, so we got about 10-15 minutes left. So let's talk about your books and what you got coming.
Okay. The first one is I picked a series called Life in the Past Lane.
I like
Take
it.
off the fast lane. And then I realized that it was a bit of a general thing about 13 or 14 different types of ailments and stuff. And then I realized that the one for aches and pains, I couldn't put it all in the book. Actually, the fears and phobias was number two. Number three was aches and pains. And the fourth one, as I say, crimes against humanity. But the fifth one I'm working on I'm calling it history, fact, or fiction.
Oh, I'm so glad you're doing that.
Because, for example, I've got about 16 people that related being on the Titanic or building it, and the stories they tell are a bit harsher and a bit more blunt than history books would like to tell you. Also, is Knights Templars.
I'm interested in that.
Well, on the side of that one, I was working with a lady in Alberta doing a session, and in the session, she goes, "You're in my past life." I had a feeling, like I knew her. It's like she'd be in
Mm-hmm.
my soul group. And you're a Knights Templar. And I went, oh. At that
Wow.
point, I didn't know what that was.
Oh, you did it?
No, I didn't know what a Knights
Oh,
Templar was. I've since then found out I've been one twice, and I've got all the history on it, and it's quite fascinating what they're up to. And
Dave's into the Templars because he was actually involved with that series. Dave, I know you're going to shoot me for this. Speaking of memory, it'll come to me. Oak Island, I knew it would. The Oak Island series. Dave's been involved with that, and there's been a bit about the Knights Templar and the treasure and stuff like that. That's out in Nova Scotia,
Nova
but it's
Scotia,
in.
yeah, just going to see Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes, the
Where's
Knights.
the treasure, Chris?
I don't know, but
I said that for Dave. That's why, and I'm not making fun of you, Dave. You know I love you, Dave.
and we'll work on that one. We'll work on that.
Okay.
The There's also Jesus Christ. He was an actual
Oh.
person. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's people that related that they were related to him or saw him, or he was married.
Yes, he was.
Do you
Had
know
children.
how many children?
I hear two, but I believe more.
8.
I thought so, yes, because in that time and age, if you could have children, you would not just have two, especially with the illness that struck your children and everything else. There were large families. And then on top of that, one of them, Sarah is her name. Now, I don't know if that would have been what it would have been in the language he spoke at the time, but yeah, I get quite a few things coming through with readings. Certain people seem to be working with that individual.
There's different other odds and ends. We have been animals.
Good. I was going to ask you, that was one of my questions. And another one that often comes up, I can't be hypnotized.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I, when people say that, I say, I like working with people like you. You're the easiest to get relaxed because
Mm-hmm.
your conscious is whirring around.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, I think too much stuff. I say, good. Your conscious wants a break.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to work with you. The people that are harder are people that are trying to help me. No, stop helping me. Just slow down.
Okay. What about the animal ones? Because my son, I had been told before, because everybody's got certain ideas about who we were, what we are, where we're going, whatever, right? And I always
Yeah.
say we're not going to know the answers till we go back home ourselves when we leave this life. But my son, as a very, well, he was a young teenager, and one of his friends' moms, I didn't know you at the time, did this type of stuff. And he told me this incredible life he had as a wolf, and he told me the name. And I mean, who was I to doubt him? But I'd love to hear more about that. So we can be animals.
Yeah. Usually more when we first started reincarnating, but we're only intelligent animals. Nobody yet has been a goat or a cow
Hmm.
because they're not that bright. Also, they can help you. Dogs have been known to save their masters. Let's
Is
see.
that maybe why he would have got a wolf? Because this was
Yeah.
quite a lifetime. He
Oh, yeah.
explained
No,
and who he was and the in the pack and the whole
yeah.
bit. It
I was
was
just
really
making a
interesting.
list of the animals, and even
Okay.
elephants,
Hmm.
wolves, eagles, dogs, even cats.
So we're not possibly a fly or something like possibly the
Not that
Hindu
I've been
belief.
aware of. What's
Hmm.
the point? How are you
Hmm.
supposed to help other people by being a fly?
Hmm.
Just how to get crushed,
Teach them patience.
how to fly.
Yes.
But wolves and stuff like that. But again, cows and goats, that no, nobody's been that. It's pretty hard to relate. But horses are intelligent. Elephants, there's been a few.
Hmm.
But yes, we have. In fact, what I find amusing too is that when people go back to their soul group, I'll say to them, "Who do you recognize in your soul group?" And more than once, people said, "Ah, there's my dog, the one
I
that they
love it.
had in
Yeah.
their current life." And sure enough, it was one of the. Now, in effect, that one that was a dog would just be energy, but they
Hmm.
often will show themselves to be
Ah.
humanoid to be make the transition a little easier to going back to your soul group.
Hmm.
But oh yeah, people have been animals.
That will mean so much to so many people to hear something like that because, you know, I've seen people that will cry over something with an animal versus seeing it with a human being. Like people are animal crazy. Not that I'm judging. It's not my job to judge. It's just a lot of people.
Some of them, like I said, some of your animals will be your soul group. Not always,
Mhm,
but they're there to help you. But again, clever ones.
mhm.
Okay, trying to think of something else. Yes. No, I haven't had anybody that's been an ant or anything like that. No, there's no logic to it.
Like I said, I think now that I said that to you at the beginning of the show about people going back to the beginning of time, I apologize to you because as I thought about it, gone through my memory as I've been speaking, you know who talked about that was Dolores Cannon. That's who
Oh,
it was
yeah.
when because she worked with in the theta levels of hypnosis,
Mm.
and I remember her talking because she was basically a scientist in that area, right? She said if you followed her much, she said that back in the 60s when she was doing this, her and her husband, they were told never to work within that layer. But she, like I said, I did a lot of research about this because it was many years ago I had you on one of my shows on a previous network, and it was so fascinating to me about past lives that I wanted to try and learn more and understand about it. And I am a huge proponent of this type of healing work.
It's so simple. All it is seeing unknown noise, it disappears. How hard is that?
Not at all.
Just that you can't do it yourself. You see, I have to relax. And if I ask myself questions, which I have to do, I'm not relaxing then. One thing, too, I cannot work with people that English is their second language.
Okay.
Unless they can prove,
Oh,
unless they can prove to me that they're thinking in English.
okay.
Because like when people speak to me in Spanish or French, I think and translate. That means I'm thinking. So I did have a couple of Chinese and a couple of French people that I couldn't work with. But so
What about though if you were a different nationality? You would still come through the subconscious in the language that you speak now, I guess, right?
yeah, they speak it whatever language, whatever country they're in. Like if you're a past life, you're in Spain or Italy, you don't speak to me in Spanish or that you speak in English.
You know
Oh,
why I asked? Because I was thinking again with people that were working within the theta levels. I remember one video in particular that really astounded me. Don't get me wrong, I didn't watch hours of Dolores Cannon, but she was talking about some people had gone back. She said that was who it was to the beginning of time. So we'll have to see if that ever comes up for you. Like literally remembering being part of the atmosphere. But she said there were people that would get so immersed in who they would forget who they were in this lifetime. Like she said, she remembered one time I think she would say, just say, can you take this pen or something to that effect? And the person didn't even know what a pen was because they literally were so immersed. That's
yeah,
what she had said.
yeah.
They weren't under, it wasn't anything like that. It just, she was working within a different level of the brain waves, if you will, omega or the omega level, right?
Keep that in mind. I've
Mm-hmm.
had many people go back to cavemen.
Mm-hmm. I did in my session with you. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I
Yeah,
fell down. Because I have chronic pain, and you don't tell people what to do. You ask them to the subconscious to bring you to this most significant point in time where this began,
yeah, yeah.
and then describe what you're seeing. And I could see myself falling down a hill, and I believe it was in a caveman era. Sorry, I was reading the comment here. Michelle says no one has had a past life of an ant or a fly, and she put LOL. Not yet that anybody's seen. I
What?
don't think I've come through. I've seen that before with the research I've done. Sorry, Chris, you were going to say something.
Just to finish the caveman, one of the really interesting ones, it's in one of the books, is this one woman came, she said, I got allergies to almost everything,
Okay,
and not just seasons, but everything. So I
I've
said,
seen that.
let's check it out. She popped in as a female cave person. She was in a cave where
Oh,
they lived, and there was about, I think, about 25, 30 in the tribe, and she was the last one alive. The rest had died. So I
okay.
said, back now, sometimes it pops in there. Then I'll have to sometimes say, back up a bit to see why this happened. And see, the ice age, when the ice age last came, it froze everything. Then as it started to melt, whatever diseases or stuff that was in that era, they didn't have it in this one. So they had no immunity to it. So
Ah.
animals would eat some of the plants that were being thawed out, and then
Mhm.
people they'd eat the animals. They were picking up the poisons and stuff. Like for example, smallpox.
Mhm.
Uh, the native Indian population in North America, a high percentage of them died from smallpox
Mhm.
because the Europeans brought it over and they had no immunity to it.
Yeah.
So after that, she said she didn't have any more allergies. It was a fascinating one. Just a quick one though is that the word readings. I don't do readings.
Mhm.
People say, "Can I get a reading?" I'll say, "I don't know what you did in the past life. How do I know?" No, because a reading, sometimes they apologize, just wordology, but I don't like it. It means me telling you that you were a gypsy in a past life.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know that you were, so that's not reading you. I do the opposite. You tell me what you did.
That's why I clarified with the caveman thing. You did. I just said that to you. You didn't tell me who I was or what. You
Yeah,
just are the facilitator, if you will. You guide people, but it's their subconscious. They're doing it. You're
yeah,
not doing it. You don't tell
direct.
them.
Yeah, you direct them
Hmm.
to go to the past life that's I like calling in your face
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
you're being affected from.
And it did help me, Chris, the session I had with you, like some of the issues, and the ones that we addressed in that particular session, I did have resolution with it. So I can speak from personal experience that it did work. Now we are almost out of time. Can you please come back? We're gonna bring Debbie the next time. But where can people find you, Chris? And again, we'll remind them where to get your books, everything, how to book a session with you.
Okay. Well, actually, interesting thing about doing stuff past life on Skype. Lately, I did a podcast a few years ago. I did a whole bunch of them, but so many people saw this one guy's. He, I've had so many inquiries, about 20 inquiries from that one podcast, and about like hearing me or stuff like that. But what it is that lately I've been getting requests, and I've done sessions now with a guy in Thailand. He's English speaking. Uh, Two in Egypt, one in Switzerland, and one in
We
Sweden.
have people from all over the world. This show, I believe, goes out to at least 160 countries live right now listening. So mhm.
Better get pull my hair.
That's why I said tell. That's why I always tell them at the end of the show. Tell them how to get a hold of
You
you.
can
And
see
if
me
anybody
better.
doesn't, yes, perfect now. Perfect. Now you're not the mystery guy anymore. Well, people will hear this either on the replay or there are hundreds, like over 100,000 people watching live. Like I would probably say at least close to 500,000.
Let me.
So, and they're going to see it on the
Yeah.
replay too.
Well,
Hmm.
what I do when people do inquire about a session is that uh, uh, through the years, twice I went to a studio and had my talk that I generally do videoed.
Hmm.
And finally, I had it done live. I was one of the main speakers at in Red Deer at
Hmm.
the Questers
Hmm.
Questers thingy, and the guy that was recording a lot of it for them said, "Would you be interested in paying a little extra and get my wine done?" So I did, and it was so much nicer because I'm interacting with people. You can hear the laughter, where you're talking to a cameraman who doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about. It loses some of
Right.
its essence. So I do send a copy of that to a client to get a better view of what it's about before I work with them. Then I send them a questionnaire, that type of thing. So
So
have them,
how can people book this with you? We got about 30 seconds left. So,
okay, go to email me at CL, which stands for Chris Lee, obviously,
oh, sorry, I keep my stand. Hmm.
CL at pastliferap.com.
Hmm.
Rap is
Okay.
not like, hey man, I'm rapping. It stands for regression and progression. Okay, the initial
We
line.
didn't even go there. So you're going to have to come back talking about, yes, we can also go into not as common, right? But progression into life, meaning future lives.
Yeah,
And we didn't get it. You also train people how to do this too, right? So people
yes.
can message
So I'll
you
tell
if
you,
you,
okay, blah, blah, blah. So email me at that, and I'll send you my video on it and talk further. And you can e-transfer or PayPal, that type of thing. And I do it on Skype. Skype works very well.
Mhm.
And from there, as far as training goes, I did have some live training classes through the years. I'd pick a city and get 2 to 5 people and train them. Now, different live because I'd bring in people for them to work with because it was easy to find volunteers when you hear free session.
Mhm.
But that doesn't quite work well because of that thingy that got in everybody's
Yeah, we've
face
gone
now.
through. Yes. So
Yeah.
you do it online now?
So, well, yes, I send them a script of
Mhm.
my thing, and then yes, and it's actually 1-on-1. So it's even better than when there's 2 or 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Still get people say, "How big is your class?" I said it's 1-on-1.
Which means me and you.
Yeah, and we work on what time is convenient for both of us. There's no
Mhm.
specific time. There's no schedule. You work and you have to find some of your own volunteers, but there's a bit more to it. But it does work. I've done a few. My favorite one is the one that does help with me about the yogurt or the sour cream or something. That was in California. So, but it does work. Or you can fly down. I did have somebody fly down for vacation and did I trained her here in
Oh,
Mazalan.
cool. That
So
sounds
it's
beautiful. I want to
possible.
thank you so much for being here. Like I said, you have to come back. I hope so because we there were so many things we didn't get to, but I really loved having you on. You had a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you again for hosting me, Lorilei.
Well, like I said, Chris is a good friend, and his wife Debbie is one of my close friends. So, like I said, we'll make sure this happens again in the new year. Oh, by the way, belated Happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends out there. Happy Cyber Monday if you celebrate. If you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Facebook.com/The Angel Rock. If you got a guest suggestion, show idea, you want to book a healing session with me, I do mentoring. I also do clairvoyant mediumship and psychic readings. I also have 2 groups on Facebook. The Angel Rocker Tribe for many of the things we talked about this evening. Also, Paranormal University for all things paranormal. Please join me next week, same time, same space. Next week, I have a guest I had on a few years back, George Lunsford. He's written a new book. He covers cryptids in different parts of North America. And I believe he's also included some serial killers in this new book. So please join me next week. Again, Chris, thank you so much. Much love to you and Debbie, and sending healing and prayers. And I ask all you seeing this, please do so as well, because she's under the weather. She was supposed to join us, but hopefully she'll be on the mend really quick. Anyways, we will see you same time, same space next week. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Much love and light.